Learners, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be talking about One Piece 1118, The Most Free. This was a interesting chapter. So there was a little bit of plot development, but not as much as we've been getting in the other chapters. This was a little bit more action based, and I actually appreciated that because it's been very exposition heavy with Vegapunk's message lately, and I have absolutely loved that. But this chapter made it feel like it kind of got to breathe with that exposition and kind of let things sink in, and everything felt like it was moving a little bit more. So we get, Luffy and the Giants, they've reached the ship. We get Nami calling for help because they're being held up by one of the elders and they're not able to get to where they need to be because Zoro is fighting someone. And then we get another elder coming to the Giants ship and trying to burn it. And they're having to fend him off. So that's kind of like some of the main development. And then York has told the elders where the other two Vegapunks are, which were Lilith and Atlas. So Lilith is with Nami's group up there, and Atlas is with Luffy's group kind of down in the ocean. So they're wanting to eliminate these other two Vegapunks because they're the other two threats to Vegapunk and how Punk Records is programmed and how Vegapunk has programmed his other little Vegapunks around. So the elders now, they're like, okay, we've stopped the message, so now we want to focus on getting rid of the other Vegapunks and just keeping York. We get a lot of thought process from some of the civilians who've been watching this broadcast, and ever since it stopped, they're like, well, what happened to the broadcast? Surely the world government, they wouldn't do anything to Vegapunk. No matter what crime he committed, they would never kill him. And it's so funny that they have so much confidence in the world government when it's no, that's exactly what's happening. It's the world government that's doing this to Vegapunk. That's who's in control of it. But they're like, no, surely it can't be them, so it must be pirates. Well, we heard that, Straw Hat Luffy was there, so it must be Straw Hat Luffy's doing. Not thinking about, no, this is a pre-recorded message and all of that. Luffy wouldn't care about this because the message had nothing to do with anything regarding Luffy, so why would he want to stop it? So who else would want to stop it? Maybe the people who is actually getting the information leaked on, but that's just my opinion. So they're all trying to reason it out in their minds, and I get why, because it would be hard for them to try to think right off the bat oh, well, this world government that we have loved so much is now evil, and we are finding this out in the worst way possible, so we're just gonna believe, yeah, okay, this is fine, it's normal, this is what's gonna be. So it does make sense that they're very hesitant and cautious to believe that the world government would do such a thing. And because Luffy has been known to be on Egghead, it is easier to place the blame on him. So I get it. I get it. So the thing about this chapter is there's a lot of stuff happening. There's a lot of movement going on, and just things are moving forward. But I feel like even though things are happening a lot, there's only a few things I actually want to focus on and talk about. So this might be a little bit of a shorter review because there's only one or two things I really want to discuss here. The first one being the Iron Giant. So the Iron Giant falls into the water, falls into the ocean, and as he's sinking, he hits the water and he's going under, and he says, "Where?" And then he says, "Where are you, Joey Boy? Where did you go?" And at this point, Luffy is not in his Nika form. Luffy's just back to regular old Luffy, and he's on the ship or getting to the ship, and he's gonna be eating all this food to replenish himself. So this giant is sinking into the water, and it kind of, I guess, furthers the theory I had earlier that maybe when Luffy is in Nika's form, that's when it registers with him, and not just Luffy himself without that form. Because he's sinking into the ocean, and he says, "I want to see you. You were there, Joy Boy." And then he says, "Strange. So strange." Is he talking about strange because Joy Boy's presence keeps coming and going and it's confusing him? Is it strange because he's been listening to these allegations that have been going on about, the blank history and everything, and no one's there to correct what's going on, or say what else happened there. Or is it some form of, not possession, but something like almost like an out of body thing with Luffy, because we've seen him be fully Luffy while he's Nika, but also like little extra at the same time. So it's like when he's Joy Boy, when he's Nika, does part of like that fruit, that Nika fruit, kind of hold, I guess, memory, maybe hold memory from like past users or the original user perhaps? And maybe it's strange because, he's thinking, well, if Joy Boy's here, then he should know what's going on. So why isn't he doing anything? Why isn't he saying anything? I don't know. So that's interesting, a very interesting concept to me, because it's like, okay, is it just strange because, Joy Boy's presence just keeps coming and going, and it's registering with him that way, and that's what's strange to him, because he's like, well, where are you? I felt you here earlier. I know you were here, so where'd you go now? Or is it something else? And I'm wondering, like, is there going to be any consequence to fifth gear with Nika? Is there any consequence to that form with Luffy unlocking the full potential of the Nika fruit? Is there any consequence to that besides, it just draining his energy dramatically? I don't know, but we'll find out. I love that panel of him sinking and he's thinking all these things, but because of what happens at the end of the chapter, when Luffy does go into Nika mode again and he's back in fifth gear and he's up and ready to fight the elders, since this Iron Giant was wondering where he went, since Luffy is back in that form, that's probably going to, signal to this giant. He's going to be like, oh, there you are. I'm coming. Because he says, I want to help you. I want to be there for you. And he wants to see him. So since Luffy has come back, I wonder if that's going to entice the Iron Giant to, get the will to fight again and come back up and fight with Luffy. So that is an interesting little tidbit of this one, and I'm really curious to see where that is going to go. The other part of this chapter that I want to talk about is when they're all on the ship and Bonnie has, turned the vice admirals and everything into children, and they've gotten away from them, and she's kind of like, oh, it's you done messed up when you let me go type of thing. And then the elder comes in and starts raining fire down on them, and they're moving Kuma and Vegapunk out of the way, so they're, out of the rain of fire pretty much. And when Luffy comes back, the beat that it happens, they say it's an earthquake, but then they're also like, oh, this is the rhythm, this rhythm is happening. It's not an earthquake, it's the beat Luffy is creating from going into fifth gear, and he's like, yes, this is great, we gotta follow that beat because he's all filled up on food now and he's ready to go. And the giants, they hear the beat and they start dancing, saying it's a celebration beat, or a festival rhythm is what they say. But it's bouncing them so much that it's taking the ship out of the water a little bit, and it's just it's moving everything around them. We've seen that before because, everything Luffy touches when he's in fifth gear, it can become part of, rubber and everything. So is it just he's making the water rubber, or is it just the beat is so intense that it's creating these ripples and waves? I'm not sure which one it is, but I think it's really cool regardless. And this is the part that has me stumped, when Luffy is like, hey Bonnie, yeah, come fight with me. You want to beat these guys up, don't you? Well, come beat them up with me. And Bonnie's like, what are you talking about? I can't fight them. Have you seen them? He says, I don't know how your powers work, but you can do it. And she's recalling when Luffy was talking about Gear 5, saying that's how he looks when he's the most free. And we know her ability and how she can manipulate her appearance and her power and everything. So on one sense it makes sense, but before she transforms, the thing that gets me is when he says, I don't know much about your powers, but I know you can do it. Which just makes me think back earlier to what the Iron Giant was saying, If it's strange, maybe that goes in. I'm reaching. I know I'm reaching, but I'm gonna reach anyways. If this memory contains like, or if this devil fruit contains like memories or something, did Joy Boy have on his crew someone like Bonnie who could manipulate things like that and fight at his side? And because he's in proximity to Bonnie, and we know like the lore of Nika has been passed down for several centuries, and how closely Bonnie reveres Nika because of, you know, the story she would hear from her dad and how she clung to it. So it's very special to her. To emulate that would be easier because it is so close to her heart. And if Luffy has like this memory of like, I don't know much about your powers, but I know you can do it. Is that just Luffy being Luffy and being like, yeah, you got this? Or is there something else behind it? That's where I'm caught at. That's what I'm curious about, because I'm probably reading way too much into it. But again, I'm going to anyways. But but Bonnie says, show me a future where I'm the most free. And in this future, this distorted future, she looks like Nika, where she's the most free because she's emulating her version of freedom, which is Luffy, which is Nika. So now Bonnie looks like Luffy, and they're both going to fight the elders together as Nika and sort of Nika. I don't know how to feel. And as Bonnie does it, and Luffy is laughing the entire time, saying, yeah, now you got it, Bonnie. Which is super interesting. Like, Luffy's whole reaction to her doing this is super interesting to me. That's why I'm like, okay, like, how did he know? Like, how did he think that she would be able to become just like him, like emulate that so well? How did he know? Or did he just have like the blind faith that Luffy often has with people? I'm not sure. But after laughing, he's like, all right, let's go. And they're preparing to fight the elders, and then the Iron Giant comes back in. He's like, oh, a strange presence there. And we get him again. Or I think it's the elders that say a strange presence, act quickly there, but it shows the Iron Giant down again. And I just know he feels it. I know he senses Nika coming back. And that's where the chapter ends. What are y'all's thoughts about Bonnie being able to emulate Nika, emulate this idea and concept of freedom? On one hand, it makes so much sense because, you know, like I was saying, like, Bonnie has held Nika near and dear to her heart because of, you know, the stories that she has heard all of her life. But on the other hand, it's like, okay, like, how did she do it so easily? How did she do it so easily? Is it because, like, it was just that close to her heart, and, like, the more she understands a concept, the easier it is for her to emulate it? Maybe it was because it was also, like, because of Luffy's motivation and his, like, I almost, like, say so, like, hey, you, I know you can do this, so do it. I don't know what it was, but that's very interesting to me, how she was able to do that. I mean, it's a beautiful sense of the representation of freedom, and symbolically, it's like, yes, that freedom that she has been desiring and craving her entire life, that she's been searching for not just her, but for her father, that freedom that they had been dreaming of is attainable, and she can attain it if she only works for it, if she only wishes for it, and she can get it. It's there for her to take, it's there for her to reach and attain. So, like, symbolically, that works really well, and it's actually very beautiful symbolically. So it's like, I have mixed feelings about it, though, because it's like, I guess my biggest thing that I'm catching on is, like, how did she get it so easily? And like, we were talking about, like, repercussions with Fifth Gear with Luffy, it can't be the exact same thing as Nika. Like, I know looks wise it looks the same, but I don't know if, like, ability wise it can't be the same as Nika, as Joy Boy, as Luffy. So it's like, okay, well, if she's done this, how is that going to affect the way she battles? How is it going to affect the way she fights? What is that going to do to her and her abilities? And for her to strive this far, to reach this type of emulation, is that going to cause any blowback on her? I don't know. But we'll find out next week. But this was a crazy chapter, and I'm really interested to see where Oda goes from here, because it could go in lots of different directions. We may not even see Bonnie and Luffy. Next chapter, we might focus on Zoro's fight with the Elder Horse. I don't know. But I would love to see them next week, because I really, really, really want some answers with Luffy and Bonnie and the Iron Giant. I'm like so focused on them right now. But that is all for this video. I hope y'all have enjoyed it. Let me know down below what y'all think of this chapter, what you think Bonnie's emulation means. Like, what do you think she's gonna be able to do with this? I would love to hear your thoughts on it, because I'm so stuck on the how that I haven't like completely thought it all through. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Other than that, thank you all so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one, scholars. Bye!